Hey guys, I'm making this video to give some more advanced tips that anyone can benefit from, even beginners. These aren't huge on spoilers or require you to have sunk 20 hours into the game to benefit from. I know some of these from my days playing OG crisiscore, and some of them are specific to Reunion. You'll be way farther ahead if you watch this video. When running through mission pathways, stick to the edges. You'll barely get into fights. Enemy spawning locations don't touch the edges of the pathways most of the time, so you can almost completely avoid fights and missions if you just want to run through to do one fight and collect the reward. This is insanely useful when you're farming missions that are way out of your league. Intersections of pathways require a bit more caution since the openness of the area extends out a bit further than in straight pathways. There are a few quirks to this that take experience to learn, like knowing that bridges rarely benefit from this tip. They almost always result in fights, even if you're hugging a wall. You'll figure it out really quickly though. This rule applies to most situations. You can get a unique item called Cursed Ring at the start of the game. The moment you can collect items from boxes, after collecting your first, try to collect another 20 times in a row, just rapid fire it. You'll get the Cursed Ring. It's a very strong item to equip at the start of the game with plus 10 to all stats, but it curses your DMW, preventing leveling up in limits. It's a huge stat boost for the start of the game that you'll want to unequip within a chapter or two. This is a go-to for challenge hunters looking to make the game more difficult. They just leave it on to prevent leveling up. In OG crisiscore, people could use it to rubber band their leveling by unequipping it after having built up a bunch of experience. I haven't tested that with Reunion yet though. Attack enemies from behind where possible because it causes critical damage. The dodge roll in this game feels a bit better designed for this since a well-placed roll when standing right up against an enemy can put you right behind it. I suggest trying to get good at rolling and then attacking from behind. Try to catch multiple enemies in your sword swings. Every attack that hits multiple enemies is one less attack you need to do against a single enemy later in the fight. Sometimes this can mean the difference between beating or failing a mission, and the damage dealt often rivals lining yourself up for critical hits against the opponent. You press the top button to trigger limits and summon in Reunion. You can avoid pressing it so that the DMW doesn't impact the battlefield, which is essential for AFK farming up your levels and materia, and you can hold on to your limits for the proper moment if an enemy is about to hit you really hard. If you have Crisiscore or Ares saved up, those are strong stat boosts and heals that you can save for when you really need them. If you're paying attention to the DMW before a character jackpot lines up, and you think you might get one, you can heal your stats in anticipation of a jackpot, and it will put you into break status. Get used to using the dodge roll. It's essential to dodge very damaging enemies. It's great at putting distance between you and your enemies, and you can use it to get back into fights faster if an enemy knocks you down. In some games, dodging is useless, but it's huge in this game. You can even dodge some wild spells like Flare with it. Save often, and choose your saves appropriately. If you're about to do something you might regret, like materia fusion, save and then create a new save right below it, so you can still access the save above. It's also great to choose a new save every so often through the story, as there's several points of no return and missables. If you diversify your saves, you don't need to start over to complete an achievement, and you can load an earlier save to try something out. With 30 save slots, you can have 3 saves a chapter on average. The first mission in the game is excellent for AFK farming up your materia levels by standing still and taking a break from the game. At a couple thousand HP, you can last 20 to 40 minutes, assuming you have a Phoenix Down status active. Equip a bunch of unmastered materia, enter the mission, and go have some food or do some chores. Watch my first crisiscore video for a breakdown. You can reduce damage from enemy charge-up abilities by knocking them down past the percentage thresholds, and cancel them if you reduce the percentage to 0. Some enemies act as hard blocks to mission progression. The Vajradharas are one example. Demons that cast death are another. There's ways around most of these enemies. I got the Wutai secret shop in chapter 3 at around level 20, and as I write this I'm approaching endgame stats and I haven't advanced past chapter 4. Barrier lets you survive the early Vajradhara abilities, and you can run from demon fights hoping that the mission end fight doesn't have demons. Once you can equip Death Proof, demons aren't a challenge. The best tactic when breaking mission progression is to try difficult missions, and if they're too difficult or impossible, work on other ones until you get proper items or get stronger. Even if you have Hell Magic with Status Word equipped, some enemy moves still cause the condition, like G-Paladins causing stun for example. If you encounter enemies like that, try to equip a dedicated item to nullify that status condition. On the topic of stuns, mash the attack button to reduce the duration significantly. Running is extremely useful, especially in difficult missions. All you need to do is run at a fight boundary until the counter ends. Enemies attacking you restarts the counter, but you can move away from the enemies while running as long as you don't stop making contact with the area boundary. Using damage command materia right after several auto attacks boosts the damage of that command. If the enemy interrupts in between you auto attacking and using the command, it will reset. So try to look for openings in between enemy moves to do a 1-2 combo of a few auto attacks and then the command. You can boost the damage several times with successive auto attacks before using the command, but it gets harder to land the more you boost it. The earliest you can get the Magic Pot summon is Chapter 2. You need to defeat the Tonberry in 6-1-5, which opens up the Tonberry missions 10-2-1 to 10-2-3. Once you get 10-2-3, make sure you have the following materia equipped: Jump, Fire, Gravity, and Assault Twister. Magic Pot is a random encounter in 10-2-3, and when you encounter it, you need to perform the moves in the order it tells you, then you get Magic Pot as a summon. Finish the mission to also get the Tonberry summon. Magic Pot hooks up loot for the rest of the game when you get it, and it has a unique way of triggering. You need to press both joysticks in to trigger it. It's actually pretty fun to use. There are a few other Magic Pot encounters later in the game, but they want you to use very advanced moves in Magic like Ultima. The Tonberry mission is by far the best way to get Magic Pot. If you fail, you can just keep trying to encounter it again until you succeed. You can't kill it, it has 1,000,000 HP. Try to position yourself properly for the end of a fight. If you're in a very advanced mission for your level, and each fight is a huge challenge, any advantage is helpful. If you complete a fight near a wall or the opposite side of an area, you'll be better off to continue exploring by having potentially one less fight ahead of you. Lots of the structure of Reunion is the same as OG crisiscore, including missions, so all the guides online that built up over the years are mostly relevant to this game, including where to get desirable materia and items. If you're lucky enough to have a crisiscore game guide, you have access to detailed maps and loot data as well. There are some changes I've noticed. Some end fights have less or more enemies, a few treasure chests are swapped around, some loot is given by mission end fights instead of chests within the mission, and some enemies' immunities are buffed. Gravity seems to be a big one. But other than that, it's mostly identical. This is great because game guides aren't really a thing anymore. I hope this video was helpful. I know a lot of this stuff from playing OG crisiscore over the years, so it wasn't too difficult to test all my old knowledge with Reunion to see what's the same and what's different. Good luck farming, and thanks very much for watching. Peace.